on there. Hold on, banner. We don't want that brand. We don't want that. Want this? Nope. I want that. And then we're going to do this. And I'm going to have to adjust. I'm not even sure if this one's going to go live. Is it going?
Yep, it says active now. 57 followers.
Yeah, but it's not going live.
Weird.
Sorry, guys. Give us just 1 second. We have kind of an important topic that we want to discuss with you today, and it's kind of the history of the unelected. And when I say unelected, I want to even just throw in there the UN, unelected health officials and how they're running this country. So just bear with me right here. I'm going to put up a link. I'm trying to get my Instagram to work at the same time. So it's just not letting me do it. Anyways, maybe we'll just forget about that and do that again at another time. I'll shut this off. Sorry, guys. Dun, dun, dun. It never fails, right? Instagram has been hammering me lately a lot. All right, now it's working-ish. Awesome. There it is. Hi, Instagram, you're working. I'm not sure for how long, because every time I do one of these types of interviews, you totally shut it down midway. And I'm going to tell you, this is probably going to be another one. So this one's going to be probably a few-parter because there's a lot of information to cover. But Christine has been doing a lot of digging on the globalist issues and in our healthcare system, and just how deep we go here in Canada. And some of you guys are going to be shocked. You're going to be shocked to hell, I'm telling you right now, because this is sick. So for those of you that don't know, we want to talk about the School of Dalalana, where all of our unelected public health officials come from. So we're going live from 2 different devices. Bear with us, guys. I'll try and even it out here. So I want you all to meet Christine Kobach. I know a lot of you know her. She's the VP of Children's Health Defense, and I'm with Children's Health Defense as well. So let's break it down. Where did the globalist community come into play in Canada? Like what year and how did that start? Because I don't think anybody knows. Not a lot of people anyway.
No. So in 1927, the Toronto School of Hygiene, believe it or not, received a $650,000 donation from the Rockefeller Foundation. and you can do a Google search. This is not conspiracy. This is out there publicly. And that's when they created the School of Hygiene. But the important part here is that the School of Hygiene was also in the same building, on the same property, as the pharmaceutical company, which at the time was called Connaught Laboratories. And the other thing that was there on the same property in the same building is the University of Toronto. So there's 3, the University of Toronto, the School of Hygiene, Public Health, and the Connaught Laboratories. They're all on the same property to this day. For almost 100 years, they've had the pharmaceutical company, the university, and public health is right in there with all of these things.
Who else is in there now? Who else has joined in there with their big time money?
Paul Dalalana?
Well, it's named after him, but I was going to say you can also find Bill and Melinda.
Bill and Melinda Gates. So
our buddies.
If you go to the University of Toronto website and you do a search, just put in Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation or any of that, Billy, it'll show up all of the donations that he has. So Mr. Globalist himself is in there. Very, very deep. So the conflicts are just absolutely unbelievable. So in 1972, the Canadian government comes in as well. So the Canadian government this Canadian Development Corporation. It was actually owned by the Canadian government. It was started in 1971 by, oh, guess who? Pierre Elliott Trudeau, Justin's daddy. So in 1971, he started this Canadian Development Corporation, and the Canadian Development Corporation, it bought Connaught Laboratories for $25 million. So they bought a pharmaceutical company.
Your government.
The federal government. And so then that is where the problems began. And this is from Federal Hansard Records. So you can go there and look it up. So this is federal government records, and they're public. So 1 year after the Canadian Development Corporation bought Connaught Labs, in 1973, it was found to be in breach of packaging. It was in breach of product stability. When the Food and Drug Branch inspectors, they returned a year later to check again, and the situation was even worse. It wasn't better; it was actually worse.
Sounds like the jab.
Yeah.
Situation.
Yeah, and so, well, this organization, this pharmaceutical company did make the jab as well. So in 1974, another year later, the violations with testing unfinished products and the quality control, and none of the breaches were ever corrected. This was a huge scandal in our federal government and our provincial government in like 1974. Well, anything from 1972 and on until you'll see what happens. So in 1974, what happened was the smallpox jab reaction. They were having adverse reactions in very high numbers because they decided to have a change in the potency of this product, and it resulted in a severe spike in adverse reactions. So, the controversy of Connaught Laboratories drastically increased. They increased the pricing on insulin. So they were an insulin producer. They actually were where insulin was created. And anybody who knows what insulin is for, it's for diabetics. It is necessary for people to be alive. And when they took over the Canadian Development Corporation, the federal government took over this pharmaceutical company, they tripled the price of insulin. So they were obviously running it as a for-profit lab now, pharmaceutical company. So they also made another thing called adrenaline. And if anyone knows what you need adrenaline for, you need it for shock and allergies. If you watch those movies, those health shows, and they go, give them some adrenaline. So it's also a life-saving product and very important to Canadians at that time. And when the Food and Drug Directorate, that's who oversees pharmaceutical companies, they tell you when the standards are approved or not. They found below standard facilities, shocking. And instead of bringing the standards up, they just discontinued the product. They discontinued manufacturing a life-saving product. And then the Sabin polio vaccine was also produced here. And they actually say in the Hansard that it was being made in a facility that was not up to standard. It was not fit to open a hot dog stand, and they were making your jabs in there. They were giving to people, and so this was all under investigation by the Health Canada, and this pharmaceutical company, it was definitely being run by the Canadian government as a for-profit industry. And instead of a focus on safe and effective of life-saving products for Canadians, and they always say like pharmaceutical companies care so much about people. That's why they do what they do. And this really shows this was a missed opportunity. Let's just say that. So there was also mistakes being made in labeling of the smallpox jab, which in many people that gave very serious reactions. A lot of these products were sold to Bangladesh, and through mismanagement and mishandling of the jab, it did not give desired results, which it resulted in deaths. It cost lives. People died from this. Mm-hmm. Fast forward to 1986. This was one of the, well, I'd like to say the biggest controversies, but there's even bigger ones.
It gets better and better, guys.
It just gets worse and
worse.
It gets
better and better up until today. So hang on.
In 1986, is when they developed the National Jab Injury Compensation Program in the US. And in Canada, we didn't. And what that was developed for, there were so many kids reacting to the pertussis, the whole cell pertussis component of that jab, that they had kids getting brain injury and death. And in Canada and the US, and what happened is in the US, they developed that, NVICP. In Canada, we just ignored it until it went away. And,
until this year.
Well, yeah, now
they're creating bears now.
But it's not even a compensation program. It's a welfare system. But so there was all these lawsuits were being filed against Connaught Laboratories. And so, the government was getting scared and saying, we have to distance ourselves. We can't be involved in such scandal. Like, it was nonstop scandal since 1972 all the way to 86. There wasn't a minute went by they didn't have some kind of problem going on. So the USA, they created that, and we sat here doing nothing. And so then fast forward to the blood scandal. And so you absolutely will not believe what was happening. From 1981 to 1986, Paul Martin, he was the former Prime Minister of Canada at that time, and he sat on the board of the Canadian Development Corporation, who owned Connaught Laboratories. And the blood scandal was they were buying blood from US prisoners, and they were importing it into Canada. And this is public knowledge again. You can find this by a simple search or in the government websites. And so this resulted in thousands of Canadians getting hepatitis C, HIV, and AIDS.
Where does that kind of tie into from what we've heard?
Blood transfusions.
Yeah. Wasn't that Fauci?
Yes, that was a big scandal that happened with.
It connects again, guys. It connects again.
It just goes, if you just do the history, it's absolutely unbelievable how this all ties into where we are right here today. And so the Canadian hemophiliacs, they launched a class action lawsuit against the federal government and two of the companies for these tainted plasma from the prisoners. What government organization goes and gets prisoners' blood to give to people who don't know they're getting prisoners' blood? And then they didn't properly test the blood, and that was a whole other lawsuit. So they were seeking $655 million, and so Canada, they struggled for several years to settle compensation of more than 11,000 Canadians who were infected with hepatitis C and AIDS during the 1980s because of tainted blood, and this caused a real scandal with the blood supply, and it really shook confidence in public health and in the blood supply. So the government, they accepted responsibility for any infections that happened between 1986 and 1990, but it said it could have done nothing to prevent this from happening pre-1986. But there was an inquiry into this, and that turned out not to be true either. So they just can't tell the truth. They can't own anything. They're not responsible.
Finger pointing.
Yeah, everybody else's fault.
Yep. How quick can we make the public get confused so it doesn't look like we did it?
Yeah, and so they refused to admit responsibility, though, in the court of public opinion. And so then they people who were, victims, they said, well, we're going to make them admit it in a court of law. And I'm like, yeah, that reminds me of a lawsuit or two that I'm involved in now. It's exactly what I said. And they were thinking just like us back then. Mm-hmm. So that happened. And then they called it the public health disaster that was unprecedented in Canada. And if we've learned anything from it, that it will never happen again. And guess what? It's happening again. So finally in 1989, the government announced that it would give $120,000 tax-free. As if that's some special, right? They're giving you money for your injury that they caused you, and they act it's a good thing. It's tax-free.
There's always free cheese in a mousetrap, friend. Always free cheese in a mousetrap.
And this was only to people who were infected with HIV through blood components or blood products, but only if they would sign a liability to release the federal government of Canada from liability for any future problems.
Set the stage.
Yes. So, yeah,
Setting the
does
stage,
this sound
friends.
familiar? Like the Vaccine Injury Support Program that Theresa Tam just announced for Canada for us using an unapproved experimental jab. That's what's happening. Exactly
Unapproved.
the same.
Repeat it again. It's unapproved. It is
Unapproved.
not FDA approved. It is only
It's experimental.
yeah. And when do the trials conclude?
Well, they've started on us because we are the trial, because they call it the post-market surveillance. That's how we find out if it's safe and effective after it doesn't or does kill us.
All the jab trials don't close until the end of 2023.
Yes.
If you look at all of the brands, everyone runs between October and December of 2023, which still makes you the guinea pig and your children. They're coming for your children, 12 and up next. So,
yeah, and I really want to know if back in the 1980s, when people got like HIV and hepatitis C from those blood transfusions and the government was denying it, did they call them anti-blood? You anti-blooders. Like, what did the media say? What did CBC say about them?
oh, I don't.
Yep. So, the other fact bomb is that the Connaught Laboratories, the University of Toronto, and the School of Hygiene, which is now called the Dalla Lana School of Public Health, and we call it the finishing school for
globalist unelected officials.
Pharma finishing school for, yeah, exactly that.
It's finishing school.
It's pharmaceutical training, salesman training ground for doctors.
So hold on one sec before you continue. I have put a link in my bio and Instagram, you guys. Check it out. It's an 8-minute promotional propaganda piece for the School of Dalla Lana in my bio. You go check that out. Everybody on Facebook and YouTube, I'm dropping the link in the comments. Make sure you watch this. The recurring common denominator here is global.
Oh, wait. The best part is what it's called.
Mm-hmm. What is it called?
It's like, what did they say? Well, this was made in 2014, and they called it like the, what was it? The virus.
I can't see. My phone's up there.
Yeah, it was something about, creating a pandemic. It's called, in 2014, the Dalla Lana School of Public Health in Toronto put this out, and it's called Creating a Pandemic of Health.
Now go watch it. And knowing what you know now, and knowing what you know about the World Economic Forum and the sustainability goals, go back in and watch it. Like I said, it's 8 minutes out of your life. Just, you're going to recognize the propaganda in this garbage, this evil garbage. So educate yourself on this. You're going to be happy you did.
And now you know why public health is running Ontario right now, and they're locking down Ontario harder than any other province, and we can't open up until we purchase these very products that they're housed in the same and being manufactured in the same building as the Dalla Lana School of Public Health. All the medical officers of health in Ontario have to graduate from there. And guess who else is a professor of the Dalla Lana School of Public Health? Yes. David Fissman. Of course he is.
Where have we heard that name before?
And he's a graduate of Harvard School of Public Health, but he's a professor at the Dalla Lana School of Public Health. Just like, almost every single medical officer of health in Ontario, they have to graduate from one of these 3 universities, these public health universities, before they can work in public health, because that's where they get their training.
And which are the 3?
Well, there's Johns Hopkins, there's Harvard, and there's the Dalla Lana School of Public Health. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was actually Rockefeller who set up all 3 of those, because they already had Johns Hopkins and Harvard in the U.S., and then they said, we'd really like to have one in Canada. And they said, well, University of Toronto is the perfect place to do that, and that's why they donated in 1927 $650,000. Like, you just can't even make this stuff up.
And where is the hardest lockdown in Canada right now?
Oh, Toronto.
Oh.
The very place. And
it's not even that hard lockdown around Toronto most of the time. It is, but Toronto's all on its own. It's like a globalist
terrorist nightmare. And so, so Cannot Labs was rife with scandal. And so the Canadian government, they wanted to distance themselves. So they sold it to the French pharmaceutical company called Moreau Pasteur, which in 1989, and they are the largest commercial jab producer in the world. They sold it for $942 million to them. And then in 2008, or just a short time after that, this Dr. Vivek Goul was the vice president.
You can't make these names up.
He was the vice president of University of Toronto, and then he became the president of the newly created Public Health Ontario. Like the crossover and it's just these incestuous relationships. And that very same year, Paul Dalla Lana donated $20 million to the School of Hygiene, which then became renamed the Dalla Lana School of Public Health. And Paul Dalla Lana is a real estate developer who got rich developing medical buildings across Canada, first across Ontario, then across Canada, and now globally. So in 2018, Sanofi Pasteur, the pharmaceutical company.
Here's where it ties in with Trudeau.
Well, it announced that it was doubling its jab production capacity by 2023. It's like they knew that COVID was coming or something.
And what happened? All of the taxpayer money, what was it? $500 million of our taxpayer money was announced for a brand new Sanofi.
They built a $431 million facility in Toronto, Sanofi Pasteur, and it was partially funded by the provincial government of Ontario and the federal government. They knew this just in time for COVID, right?
It's such a coincidence.
Yeah. So Paul Dalla Lana, he is the CEO, announced the acquisition of securities of Northwest Healthcare Properties, and with an intent to adopt auto security purchase plan, he runs a real estate investment trust, which is an REIT, and so he's a globalist, and he's attracting international investors to into long-term care homes of all places. They're buying up long-term care homes. Yes, they are. He plays it down to think he's attracting these international people to invest into Canada, but what he's doing is he's selling our elderly care homes. And where is all the people who are dying the most from COVID?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so.
All of them are tied to the School of DL.
Yeah. So
and it's not down low because we're digging it up.
Yeah,
we need your help too.
Absolutely.
So anything else you guys can find on this, we want to put a roadmap together. Okay.
Yep.
We've got it, but the pieces are all over the place. It comes together, but we still need more help. So if anybody can help us out, with Dalla Lana lineage, please contact us or do it or whatever, but let's get this done. I mean, wow.
Well, we know he came from Vancouver.
Yes.
But he also was a race car driver. And it's kind of funny because I think he should have on his race car clothes, Pfizer, Sanofi Pasteur. Show us who's your sponsors. Mm-hmm. And so he's an advisory board member at the Dalla Lana School of Public Health, and he is on the President's Advisory Council at the University of Toronto. So, I mean, the crossover between this pharmaceutical company, the Dalla Lana School of Public Health, and it's just and the University of Toronto, it's absolutely a conflict of interest. And so
I just want to say though too, and I know for some of you that saw my interview with Rachel Huffman, the Farmers for Freedom lady, talking about, I can't even remember their chief public officer's name, but anyways, he's no longer there. He was parachuted in from Harvard. Okay, which Harvard graduate do you know from the US that wants to come and just hang out in Norfolk County all of a sudden at the top of his game, and then hang out a year before COVID, make an extra, what was it, $60,000 in his COVID overtime and then just decide to leave. But I'm pretty sure he was headed out to BC next.
I actually
Who's
know one
the other
other
one?
David Fistman.
Oh my God. This guy keeps coming
He
up.
graduated from Harvard, but that's the trilogy, right? There's the 3 universities that are all bought and paid for by the Rockefeller Foundation, started them all, and now they have the big globalist push, and they're churning out these soldiers, these pharmaceutical salesman foot soldiers. David Fistman, he has been a professor at the Dalla Lana School of Public Health, I think, since 2013. And he's the same David Fistman who sits on the Ontario Science Table advising Doug Ford. And guess what else he does?
He eats his cheesecake?
He's paid by the Teachers Union, the Ontario Teachers Union. And he's demanding that Ontario schools stay closed. And despite the doctor saying that it's safe for schools to open, I mean, every other province, the schools are open, but they don't have David Fistman in the Dalla Lana School of Public Health. So,
and it's also funny too, if you remember, Sick Kids came out saying that masks weren't needed for kids, blah, 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 blah. What happened to those doctors that wrote that original report? They replaced them. They replaced them shortly thereafter and wrote a new report saying, oh, masks are safe. So let's piece this all together. They're all in, because that was right after Bill Gates dropped what, $5 million for sick kids?
Yeah. And then met with all of our mayors.
Why the hell
would this globalist want to meet with
Bill Gates? Want to
tiny little town mayors?
I know. I know.
So in 2014, the Dalla Lana School of Public Health at the University of Toronto, they hosted a Global Health Equity and Innovation Summit, and they called it Creating a Pandemic of Health. And so that's the video that I'm sure that we posted. It's showing they discussed the politics, the partnering with the private sector, aka the pharmaceutical industry. It's a playbook for mainstream medicine doing a hostile takeover of global healthcare, starting with Canada, starting right here in Ontario. And then in 2019, let's not forget, our favorite medical officer of health, that's the Toronto Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Eileen de Villa, whose name rhymes with another person who's famous.
Cruella de Vil?
Yeah. The one who, like, what does she do, eat puppies? She makes coats out of them, right? Scarves for around her neck. Out of her puppies. Like, what kind of a terrible person would do that? Like, really evil Disney character, right? You can't make this stuff up.
And we're not laughing at the information. We're just laughing because if we don't, it's so sick to comprehend.
It's just, no, they've got to make these things up. They must have. And so in 2019, she hosted Toronto City Council. They hosted a meeting to plan, and they voted unanimously yes to lobbying the provincial officials to make jabs mandatory for school attendance in Ontario. So, I mean, it's already mandatory in Ontario, by the way, but they wanted to remove the currently available exemptions, the conscience and religious ones, you know, the charter and all. So they wanted to trample your charter rights in 2019. And
well, we saw that coming a mile away.
Yes.
As parents of vaccine-injured children or jab-injured children, we already saw it, and we were already fighting back when, right? Like, I mean, you've been on this kick for 20 years.
Yes.
And I've been on this kick since 2014, and it's not a path we ever wanted to choose at the expense of our children. So,
and the crossover's there with the politics already. We see that in Toronto because Joe Cressy, he sits on the city council. He's a city councilor for Toronto, and he sits on the Toronto Board of Health as well. With Dr. Eileen de Villa. It's true, yes. It's just unbelievable.
Well, and de Villa's married to
a doctor, the heart doctor.
The vaccine guy.
St. Michael's?
I can't even remember, but he's a vaccine manufacturer.
He's a jabber.
He's a jabber.
Can't say that V word.
I know. I'm trying not to.
Totally
I keep forgetting.
Shut down. And yep. So, So in 2020, when COVID-19 started in Canada, the Dalla Lana School of Public Health positioned itself to take over governing the province of Ontario. The medical officer of health, they used this Health Protection and Promotion Act to order businesses, schools closed. And they ordered municipalities to pass bylaws to restrict essential businesses and require the public to wear masks. So even before the provincial government came in and started doing lockdowns and got their emergency measures out there that they've now voted in until 2030, until immunization 2030 takes place. Yes, they went and the medical officers of health, all from the Dalla Lana School of Public Health, they made all of the municipalities vote in your mask mandates long before your provincial government did. So essentially, they did a takeover. The medical officers of health took over your government. And they still are running your government.
Right.
And so, yeah, so almost all of them, like I said, they all attended the Dalla Lana School of Public Health, or some of them did attend Harvard, like, David Fissman. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them are also professors at the Dalla Lana School of Public Health. And let me see. So, yeah, they're like the trifecta, the North American trifecta of ground zero for public health agenda is the Dalla Lana School of Public Health, Johns Hopkins, and Harvard. And the other thing they were successful in doing is they essentially shut down alternative healthcare. So all the colleges of natural healthcare, like naturopathic doctors, homeopathic doctors, chiropractors, they were all advised they could not speak about COVID-19, or they couldn't say they had any treatments that were alternative to the jab. And most of them were ordered to close for in-person service, and others were restricted with mask mandates and real strong restrictions of how they couldn't be open. Like registered massage therapists, all of the stuff, anything complementary healthcare, it was gone. So for a long time, they've been trying to close all these kinds of places. All their competition is gone. And so they've just taken over. They've done this hostile takeover, and now the only thing available is mainstream medicine. And yeah, it's so scary. They claim that we are uniquely positioned to create and spread health. And in fact, to create a pandemic of health from Toronto. That's what they say in that video. It's really scary.
My favorite part is the highest concentration of people working on a global summit. Like,
yeah, they couldn't say the word global enough in that video.
I swear every fifth word is the word global or climate change or what. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, and the Dalla Lana School of Public Health, on their website, they state that they're working with AI, artificial intelligence, and retraining health professionals, teachers, speech therapists, etc., to champion jabs. They're teaching all of these other professions to now push for their whole jab agenda. And yeah, it's unbelievable. Like,
they are a propaganda marketing school.
Yes, and they're taking on what they call jab hesitancy.
Mm-hmm. With a God complex.
Oh yeah, well, remember the World Health Organization said they were the top 10 public health threat, and so now this is their comeback. This is their pushback to that. So yeah, they're doing this. They're taking on jab hesitancy due to most confidence in jab's dark history. Of medical errors being the third leading cause of death. They've got a lot of, no wonder the confidence is gone. And so they're trying to build up, well, they're not trying to build up the confidence. They're just ordering us to take the confidence away. Just take it. Yeah. You don't have to be confident. Just take it. And we're just going to bully you into taking it because we can't make you confident because you're too smart.
Well, that's questionable.
Stop asking questions. That makes you racist.
Yeah.
And they shame people. If you ask questions about anything, that you're just labeled an anti-something or other.
Yeah.
Discriminatory. Anti-blood. You're anti-blood.
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't want to get a blood treatment? You don't want HIV? You are anti-blood. Right. Bad person. And so...
Racist.
Yeah.
Racist.
Exactly.
Stop it.
Don't you dare say that COVID came from a lab in Wuhan, China. Don't you dare say that.
You don't say that, but don't forget to call it the Indian variant. Or the Brazilian variant. Or the UK variant, but don't say China.
Yeah, that's racist. But the other
anti-life. That's right, Mike. I like that. It's just anti-life.
So the Dalalana School of Public Health, they do state that they consider jabs the cornerstone of public health. Of course they do. They share a building with the pharmaceutical company Sanofi Pasteur, one of the biggest jab manufacturers in the world. Of course they call it the cornerstone of healthcare. They don't want people to heal naturally.
Self-labeled.
Yeah.
Self-labeled.
They want people to buy their products and become dependent on them. And they're working on a eugenics program, and it's disguised as a public health to deal with the growing elderly and sick from lifestyle and population.
Well, and when you say eugenist, I think, who else is funding it? And we've already gone over this. Who else is funding
Bill
it?
Gates.
What?
Yeah, they just align so
exist.
Yes. Yeah, but who knew it was right in the Dalalana School of Public Health is eugenics and the way they speak and artificial intelligence.
Toronto, you are sitting in a hotbed of globalist bullshit.
Yep. And why teach nutrition and exercise when you could use eugenics and sell some pharmaceuticals? It's like they're Bill Gates cheerleaders, the AI and the eugenics promoters, and the new normal is absolutely terrifying. And now you know how your unelected health officials did a hostile takeover of our province of Ontario and why we have the most severe lockdowns here.
Look at the bat. People bought the bat. Well, the only one innocent in this entire thing is that poor little bat. Like, I want to bring that little bat home and make it my pet.
Get a
like
bat
the
house.
poor thing.
I know.
So anyways, that was part one of
There's so
what
much
we
more.
kind of put together.
It's so deep.
It is so deep, you guys. It's like a bloody onion, and I'm not sure how much of this stuff we'll get out. And you know what? Take it or freaking leave it. We want to draw a map to help you put it together.
Yeah, it's all public information. It's not conspiracy if it's on a government website.
But no one's looking at this stuff except for the normal people that I do know that do it. But guys, it's not a conspiracy. It's out there for you to see, but it's not black and white. You're going to have to dig.
So we're connecting the dots. That's what we're doing.
We are connecting the dots. And if anybody wants to jump in and help us create this map, by all means, like, power comes with knowledge, and you empower yourself with that knowledge. So I am so sick of the corruption and the bullshit and the lies. Like, let's shine the spotlight on this garbage and put it out. There is enough of us in independent media now that we don't have to rely on CBC. I'm done asking the CBC and CTV and City TV and CB24. Piss off.
Oh, that's the other thing.
Right?
The Dalalana School of Public Health, they run a media course. They train media how to report public health and health stuff. Like, you can't make this up. They actually do. You just got to go to their website and go, oh, look, they have a whole arm of media. They have pharmacy. They have everything for a globalist takeover. They have an agenda, and they are fulfilling it very, very well with our tax dollars, no less.
Yep. Yep. Well, I'm going to guess that this video is going to have my YouTube channel taken down.
Again.
But don't worry, I'll be back. I make them work for their jobs. And yeah, that's pretty much all we have today.
But if you just look at history, you can see the safety has been compromised. You can see all of the things that our government has done to the people. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. We have so much more information, but this is the tip of the iceberg. And these are the exact same people now who are saying, trust me, go get that experimental jab. Trust me, it's fine. Just sign this indemnifying waiver first. So when you get that jab, they make you sign a paper saying they're not liable.
Mm-hmm.
And now they have this whole program.
Mm-hmm.
It's their it's not even a jab compensation program. It's a jab injury. What is it? It's a support program, they call it. And it means you have to go in and you have to grovel and beg.
You're not going to win the money.
No. They're just going to give you a little dribble of money to shut you up.
It's
money.
Another carrot to say, oh, now all you anti-vaxxers, you have somewhere to go. You don't. The amount of hoops you're going to have to jump through. We have been begging for this for years and years, and now that it's here, we don't want it. You know what we want? Liability. Put liability back on the damn manufacturers. force them into safety, and then maybe my trust comes back in what you're trying to do.
Yeah, when you indemnify a manufacturer, it means they have zero motivation to improve that product's safety.
Zero.
Because, yeah, there is no reason. And so even people out there who do want to get the jab, you should be the ones that mostly, I mean, I don't care if it's safe and effective because I'm not getting it, but if somebody does want to get it, you guys should be the ones who are really pushing for this and saying, hey, we don't want them to be indemnified, or else they're never going to make it safer. They can still sell you 15 of them a year just so you can cross the border.
Erica wants to know, Dave, is it David Fissman you're looking for? David Fissman is the one you're looking for.
No, Dalalana School of Public Health. So we're looking for Paul Dalalana's information. If anybody has more information on that, other than the fact he's a race car driver.
Well, more like lineage-ish. I'm curious to find out, because I don't know if any of you have seen like Volleyball. I watch everything if I can, but I don't have time anymore. But the lineage on that.
Is he related to the Rockefellers?
In any way,
or Bill
shape,
Gates?
or form? We don't know.
Is he married to Bill Gates' daughter? Like, we don't know. And why? Why is there no information about this multi-bazillionaire who is essentially, he's running our country too?
Well, and the convenience that the first Trudeau put into play, and now the second Trudeau is here to kind of seal the deal. Get out of here.
That's not a coincidence.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Trudeau, daddy, he put it all into place.
Yeah. He's not his daddy. We know who his daddy is.
Well, he hardly looks at all like his Cuban daddy.
He ain't done it. Yeah. Anyways, guys, we're not going to keep you. We're just rambling on at this point because we're just blown away. But we're going to keep putting these things together, and we're going to try to bring them to you as we can. Like, comment, and share. Get them out there. We know the sleepers are going to try to argue with this. But if they picked up any kind of a book or any kind of a actual search engine, perhaps DuckDuckGo would be your best bet. You too could find this information all in black and white, but it's the gray you need to dig for. All right.
So we'll post it. We should post this on the Children's Health Defense Canada website.
Yeah, we'll post a map once we have the map all put into play, but right now we have notes everywhere. So,
yeah.
So we'll come to you live again when we have more information and figure a lot more out. Anyways, also vaxtracker.com. If you have a reaction, if you know of anybody that has had a reaction, you can fill this out yourself. Theirs is not being filled out. Doctors are not being allowed to fill this out. Go to vaxtracker.com, VAXXTRACKER.com. Okay, and fill it out. And that includes any symptoms that you may be getting if you're not jabbed, but have been around people that have been. Okay, this information is for the people. It's put in by the people and whoever's filling out the form, and you have the ability to do it yourself as a person in the public, not a medical professional, even though medical professionals can do this as well. It's to give the people back the power to show that the 1% is a lot more than 1%. And it allows for independent studies to take place, which has not happened
in Canada.
Many years.
Well, there's no publicly accessible jab reaction reporting database in Canada for you to go and see how many people reported. You get only the watered down filtered version, and they go through them and they go, oh, here's 15 reports. Okay, maybe that one. They'll like go one, you get one, and that's it. So they'll go, well, that other one. No, we discounted those, and then you don't know in the end how many they've just swept under the rug and said, no, we're not doing that.
Well, we've heard of thousands and thousands they've just swept under the rug. Right. And we're getting messages from doctors coming in constantly saying, I don't know what to do. I don't want to quit my job. I can't lose my income, but they won't let me report this. Like infants are dying off breast milk. Like
after the mom's been jabbed.
Y'all. Anyways, this is just going to get me on another rant. I'm not going there. That's another day. It's another time. It's another thing. You can join us Freedom Friday on Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Central Time. Next Freedom for Truth conference, we have Dr. David Martin coming with his beautiful, beautiful wife, Kim. They will be joining us. So you want to join us there for June 18th. Again, 8 p.m. I'm going to try not to post it all over the place because of what they did to RFK Jr. last week or the week before. He had a complete cyber attack on his house. They shut his Wi-Fi down and his cell service for 24 hours for breaking the Fauci email stuff on our conference. Yeah, so hopefully he'll be back. And it's funny because the Fauci emails dropped 2 days later.
It still got out.
So it still got out and we did it. But I wish he could have been there to talk more to you guys because he had a lot to say and he's so smart. Anyways, we'll talk to you later. Love you guys. Have a good day. Bye. Download video. Oh, I did not end.